Hi, this is John Sawash. Yesterday, I took the Level 1 Google Certified Educator exam. This is what it looked like. Well, it didn't go quite that fast, but you get the general idea. In this video, I'm going to be sharing some of my thoughts on the exam and what you can expect, and sharing a few tips and tricks along the way to help you be successful as well. Now, first, little disclaimer. When you register for the Google Educator exam, you sign a non-disclosure agreement in which you agree not to disclose the content of the Google Certified Educator exam. That is a very reasonable request, and I fully intend to comply with it. So in this video, you're not going to be learning about specific questions that I received or specific questions to help you prepare. But I will be giving you some general tips and strategies that I think will be very, very helpful as you prepare for your Level 1 test. Now, if you're getting ready for Level 2, I have a second video that reviews the Level 2 test. I'll link to that video in the description for this one. If you want to jump over there, you can check that out as well. Now, I've been taking the Level 1 test every year since it came out. This is probably the fourth or fifth time that I've taken the Level 1 test. So I have a pretty good sense of how it's changed over time. The very first time that I took the Level 1 test, it actually completely failed on me. There were so many technical issues that I wasn't even able to complete the test. I'm very pleased to say that this time I had absolutely no technical issues at all. Everything went incredibly smoothly. The instructions were spot on. Everything worked just as it was intended, which is awesome. Kudos to the Google team for refining and improving the process. Again, had no issues at all, which is awesome. You've got enough to think about taking this test without worrying about the technical issues as well. Now, this is the actual setup that I used to take the exam. You could see it in the video. I've got two monitors set up. One tip that I found extremely helpful is, having two monitors is great. This, Chromebook here, this has all of my tabs and things that I'm using logged into my personal Google account, and then I put all of my other tabs for the testing account over on this monitor. One additional thing that I did that was quite helpful is I split the screen so that the test questions were over here on the left, and then I was able to open a second window and have Gmail, Drive, Calendar, Sites, all the different tools open here. That allowed me to do a lot of copying and pasting between these two windows. Because this is a larger monitor, that was very, very useful. It helped me work more efficiently so I could conserve time and make sure that I was doing things accurately. So if you have the ability to run two monitors or to take the test on a device with a larger screen, I would highly recommend it. That was very, very useful for me. Some general thoughts. Again, technical issues, didn't have a single one. That was awesome. Your test begins with a selection of matching multiple choice style questions. I actually found that to be the most difficult part of the test. There were, I think, 20 of those questions. Some were multiple choice. Some of them were like drag and drop. So they would give you like a list of Google tools on one side, Sites, Calendar, Blogger, Drive, and then a list of classroom tasks on the other side, and you would have to, drag them around to match the two, the best tool for the best purpose. Things like that. I was a little surprised. A few of those questions went beyond just Google stuff and started asking questions a little more philosophical. So there's a few questions about professional learning networks, digital citizenship, differences between a digital and non-digital classroom, stuff like that. All of that content is clearly explained and described in the Google Training Center module. So if you're going through that free online course that Google created to help you prepare for the Level 1 test, you're going to be well equipped to answer those questions. I was a little surprised. I was expecting, just questions about Drive and Gmail and Calendar, and went a little beyond that, which I think is reasonable. I mean, Google is hoping that we will become better teachers as a result of using these tools, not just proficient users of their tools themselves. So you've got that initial multiple choice section. That first section took me 20 minutes. I spent 20 minutes on that first section. I'm probably a little faster than the average person. I've taken this a lot of times. So I would probably plan on 35 minutes for that first section. You really have to read those questions carefully to understand what they're asking. Now the second section is the bulk of the test. That's those scenario questions. They're going to ask you to do things inside of Gmail, Drive, calendar sites, all the different tools. I spent about an hour on that portion of the test. I would plan on probably a solid 2 hours for most people if you're just getting into this. That's going to take you some time. Now there's 10, 12 scenarios, but each of those scenarios can vary between 1 and 6 parts. So, one scenario can take you 15, 20 minutes depending on how complex it is. So plan and prepare accordingly. Now again, I'm not going to reveal specific questions that I received, but I did keep just a tally of how many questions I got on each of the different Google products. That might be helpful for you. Now, I know that Google does have a large question bank they pull from, so you are not going to get the same questions that I did. The mix is going to be different, but this is just for reference planning purposes. I received about 6 questions on Google Classroom. I had 2 questions on Google Hangouts, 5 questions on Google Sheets, 6 on Google Forms. I had 3 questions on Google Chrome, Chrome extensions and various things. Google Slides, I had 3 questions. Gmail had 5. Now, Gmail is a big one. Like there were almost all the questions involved Gmail in some respect. It would say create this and email it. But 5 questions specifically within the features of Gmail itself. 1 question on Blogger. 6 questions on Google Drive. Drive and Gmail are 2 kind of foundational tools. A lot of the questions touched on those 2 products, just in very tangential ways. 4 questions on Google Docs. Only 1 on Google Drawing. 2 questions on Google Groups. Google Groups is a tool that most teachers don't use on a regular basis, if at all. So that's one that I would definitely recommend studying and practicing with. 2 questions on Calendar, 2 questions on Google Tasks. That's another one you may not be as familiar with. 3 questions on YouTube and 2 questions on Google Sites. That's a pretty comprehensive overview of the Google suite of tools. I mean, they hit pretty much everything. When you look at, the Training Center modules, when you look at the documentation on the test, they did a good job of touching pretty much every product listed as being referenced on that level 1 test. My certification guide that I'll link to in the comments of this video lists the same things, and they hit every single one of the products that I listed. One notable exception, recording this video in early April 2019, Google Plus is now dead. Google Plus is officially discontinued, so you won't see any questions on Plus on the exam anymore. Another thing I was very impressed with is I did not receive any out-of-date questions. So everything that I received was a normal way of using the products. In the past, Google has struggled to keep the exam content updated with the changes to their own products. So even the updates to Google Classroom were clearly referenced, Google Sites, the new Gmail interface, everything. You don't have to worry about having to use old versions of the product or remember how things used to be. Everything is perfect, which is great. Again, great job to the team at Google for making that happen. I've taken this exam many times, and one of the things that I noticed, I was commenting to a friend of mine yesterday after taking it, is I would argue that this exam has actually become easier over time. Now, this is somewhat anecdotal. I have no way of proving this, but I don't know. I felt that the exam questions were easier this time around than they were in the past. I think one reason for that is Google has started to recognize just the challenge of updating and keeping the exam content, up to date with all the changes that go along with their product. So they've really focused on kind of the basic, foundational, fundamental elements of their tools rather than nitty-gritty, parts here and there, which is good for you. I would say that any Daily user of these Google products would be able to pass the level 1 test. I don't think that you need a ton of study and preparation. Again, if you are using Gmail, Drive, calendar sites on a daily basis to do your classwork and teaching work, I think you'll be fine. The tools that you're going to want to review are going to be Google Groups, Blogger perhaps, if you're not using that for your own blog, Google Tasks, Hangouts, Calendar. Those would be the ones that I would probably maybe spend a little bit of time reviewing prior to taking the test. But the rest of them, Gmail, Drive, I mean, if you use those on a daily basis, you should be good to go. So that's good news for you. One little kind of weird thing at the end of the exam. So you go through and get to the end screen. You have a chance to review any questions you're not sure about. You can mark them. If you're like, I'm not 100% sure I did this right, you can mark it and come back if you have time at the end. 3 hours, I've said in the past, was really tight. Based on my experience this time around, I think 3 hours is a very sufficient amount of time to accomplish this exam. I didn't even use half of the time that I was allotted. I think the average person should be able to complete this test in 2 to 2.5 hours, which would give you 30 extra minutes potentially to review any questions that you're unsure about. When you get to that final screen, it kind of lists all the questions. You can review them if you need to, and then you press submit. Takes you to a page that says loading, scoring your exam. Wait here up to 15 minutes for your results. I sat there and I waited, and nothing happened. Which was very disconcerting after having sat there for over an hour taking this test. I'm like, I want to know if I passed or not. I did not ever get the confirmation message on the screen. After about 10 minutes, the page refreshed and it actually logged me out of the testing environment without telling me anything. I was like, oh my goodness, what just happened? Then I immediately went and I checked my email, and I had an email from Google with a link to the exam results. So for whatever reason, the scoring component of this doesn't seem to be working correctly at the end, but it did send me via email my results. I was able to click and get those immediately and saw that I passed. So if that happens to you, don't freak out. Wait a few minutes, look for that email, and hopefully that will have your results in it. There is a link to a help form you can fill out if you do have any technical issues or don't get your results. I will link to that form in this video description in case you had issues. You can check it out. I would love to hear your thoughts and experience with the level 1 test. If you agree or disagree with me, leave me a comment to this video. If you have any questions about the exam, if you're preparing to take it, feel free to leave me a comment as well. I will also link to my free certification guide, which is a very detailed overview of the content and tips and tricks that you should know before you take the level 1 or level 2 test. That's free, and I'll put the link in the description to this video. Good luck on your level 1 test.